Hey everybody, this is Kevin from Klotz Productions and welcome to a budget brewing deck tech for Mono Black Aggro. So here's the deck. It's pretty straightforward. It is, like I said, Mono Black Aggro, which means that we're basically just going to play lots of fast, cheap dudes and attack for as much damage as fast as possible. Theoretically, some may say it's got kind of a heroic core to it, but you can decide for yourself. So, without further ado, let's just go ahead and get started. For the list, we have 4 Bloodsoaked Champions, 4 Tormented Heroes, and we also have 4 Gnarled Scarhide. Those are the 1-drops. For the 3-drops, we have Mogis' Marauder, Master of the Feast, and Agents of the Fates. Those are all 4-drops. And we don't have any 2-drops in creatures, but we do have 3 Bile Blights, 4 Boon of Erebos. I'm actually missing 1. They only had 3 at the shop, but there is actually supposed to be 4. 4 Scourgemarks and 4 Molting Snakeskin. So the deck is pretty straightforward, but I'll go ahead and tell you some of the interactions and what I do with here, why I pick certain cards. So obviously we have 12 1-drops because we want to make sure that on turn 1 we're going to be playing a really fast dude, and they're all 2/1s, so we want to get as much damage as possible. And then turn 2 we want to follow them up with, suiting them up with one of these cards. Either this one or this one. Usually just save Boons of Erebos for protecting creatures and combat tricks. So we want to get one of these on turn 2. So what we do is we'll play a creature turn 1, obviously. Then turn 2 we can either play our Scourgemark or our Molting Snakeskin. I like to play the Tormented Heroes on turn 1 if I have the chance because of their second ability for their heroic trigger. If I play a Molting Snakeskin on him, then I can do 5 damage on turn 2. Then turn 3 I can go ahead and regenerate him or play another creature. Or I can play the Scourgemark, which will give the heroic trigger and get him for a total of 4 damage, and then it also cantrips, so it's not card disadvantage and it lets me dig more. Now obviously we got our 3-drops. We have Master of the Feast, and he's just a 5/5 flying for 3. He has his drawback where they draw cards, but you're playing black aggressive, so it's typically doesn't really matter how many cards they have in their hand because they're not going to get the chance to play them all anyway, because in theory you're going to kill them super fast as it is. I have the Mogis' Marauder in here. Basically as a finisher, I was only running like 1 or I wasn't running 2 or 3, but when I tested them I realized they were really strong, and whenever I had them in my hand I was happy to have them in my hand, and if I had multiples then it was basically 2 attacks in a row where they'd have no blockers, because there's not a lot of black in the format right now. There's green-black Constellation, but other than that, most of the other decks are not really running a lot of black creatures, so it basically makes all your creatures unblockable whenever you play him, because all your creatures are black, therefore your devotion to black is going to be enough that's just going to make them all unblockable. Now, a card that a lot of mono-black decks don't run, that I'm actually running, is the Agent of Fates, and it's because of the fact that he basically gives me tons and tons of removal. I mean, the Death Touch is cool and all, and he's another creature for some aggressive damage. But I like the removal because when I play Molting Skin, that means they sack a dude, and then I can regenerate him. Then I have a regenerating Death Touch dude, which means it's going to be really hard to kill, and I can basically just keep swinging because if they block, it's going to trade for anything anyway, and just regenerate. Scourgemark, it's card advantage because I play it on him. They sack a dude, and I get to draw a card, and he gets bigger. And Boon of Erebos, like I said, I use that as a protection spell, so they go to kill the Agents of Fates. I protect it with Boon of Erebos. They sack a dude. And I keep my creature. So there's card advantage in that as well. Bile Blight's pretty simple, it's just a removal spell. It's an instant speed, so it can be used as combat tricks if I'm trying to attack into a 2/4, say. I can attack, I can shrink them down, and my 2/1 creatures will be able to take them out. So it's combat tricks. It's also board sweeps for things like Elspeth tokens, or really any tokens that are going to be produced in mass quantity. Also, I decided to run the Gnarled Scarhide not just because it's fast, but because of his bestow ability, which is also going to be good on the Agents of Fates. If it's in late game, instead of just playing him, I can make my agent a 4/3 and make you sack a creature when it comes into play. And if you kill the agent, I still got the 2/1. Let's see, what other sorts of interactions are there? I think that's pretty much most of it. I like the Tormented Hero a lot with all the interactions. Because I have 4, 8, 12, I essentially have 16 ways to trigger Heroic. So that's 16 drain off of this, or it's 16 removal spells off of this. So it's pretty powerful. And then Bloodsoaked Champion's obviously just good because I can keep attacking and coming back. It gives you some late game reach. If you need to in the late game, you know, tackle the 1/1, get this guy back, and then you can just bring them all back, play your Magicize, and attack for lethal. So that's pretty much the deck. Things as far as sideboarding, I don't have a sideboard right now. I haven't really tested enough to know what the sideboard's going to be. Another card that some people would consider in the deck, and that a lot of people play in black decks, would be Herald of Torment. I'm not really sure the best situation for him. I think if I was playing a black deck, I might side Herald of Torments for the Mogis, because it'll give me some ways to get over top of them in the air, and plus since if they're running black, then these are going to be a lot weaker. And also it has Bestow, which means that I'm going to be getting 4 more triggers for my heroic ability. So it may be a good sideboard card, and maybe it should be in the main deck somewhere. I'm not really sure. This deck is still kind of in early stages, however. Like I said, this is a budget brew. I should talk about that a little bit. This whole deck, oh, and there's also 21 Swamps. The whole deck was built for under $30. Also have a blue-white control that was built for about $30. But so this is a pretty solid deck that you can put together for pretty cheap, have some fun with it, and still be competitive at the same time. So let me know what you think of the deck in the comments, if there's anything you would change off the top of your head, if there's any cards that you think are powerful that should be in here, and also what you would do in the sideboard. Other than that, I hope you all enjoyed this deck tech, and I will see you all later.